Welcome to Community Cocktails with Kimberly, hosted by Kimberly Woodard, a realtor who's been selling homes in North Texas with more than 21 years of experience. Join her every first and third Wednesday of the month as she meets with top community leaders, local businesses, and real estate industry experts to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Community Cocktails with Kimberly. So you're going to learn so much today. I know you guys are homeowners, or maybe you aren't and you're just looking to buy a home. This is going to really give you some great information about plumbing. So today I have Brent and Jeni Garrett with Serious Plumbing and AC. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, plumbing, I feel like, we're talking about plumbing, plumbing. Something's clogged. We call the plumber.
Yeah, there we go.
So, Brent, let's first talk about how did you get into this business, crazy business?
Well, I was born in the Midwest, and my father was a plumber. We really didn't work together, but he surely had me work when I was young. I like to say I'm an accountant trapped in a plumber's body, but when I first started my first company here in Richardson, Texas, it was in Canyon Creek area, and I'm a licensed plumber and master plumber and HVAC technician, and so started it with an Astrovan and an Alpha pager. I'm 58 now, right? So I started when I was 24, and so I've never gotten out of the business. I've been in small business my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, and look at what you've grown. Just a fabulous company, which I will endorse. They're at my house for all my needs. Coming this week too for my regular service. So I just a plug and endorsement. Well, let's really talk about plumbing. I mean, obviously, it's big. I think now with we've had our bad weather freezes and people have had pipes burst and just all kinds of different things that can happen to a home. And people just, I don't think really ever know what to do to maybe help them with checking. With your AC, you should have it serviced and everything, but I don't think people really are aware what should we be doing with our, check our plumbing.
Sure.
On a regular basis.
Sure. So one of the most important things to do in your home, and do it before you really need it, so go and check it today,
Yes.
is how hard is it for you to shut the water off to your home? Okay.
Yes.
And so, and do you know where that is? And easily mark it. So is it accessible? And can you turn it off with just your hand?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's really important. If you're not sure about that, you can call your plumber, and I'm sure they can find that for you, locate it for you. Most homes have a shut off to the home, and that's really the most important thing. And how quickly can you shut it off? Because when water starts going throughout the house, okay, we don't need to think hours, we need to think seconds. So know where it is.
Yes.
And make sure it's easy to shut off.
So you could do this relay game. You could set your
Absolutely.
set your timer and see if you can beat your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always a good idea to check the key areas. Think of water heaters.
Yes.
Okay. They can leak, and if it's a standard water heater, it's holding up to about 50 gallons of water, and that goes everywhere. And if we can't get the water shut off to that, then it's just going to keep running. Yeah. And it's always a good idea every quarter to check underneath your sinks. Little tip on your kitchen sink: if you want to get one of those plastic basins to hold all of your dishwashing liquid that has them, put it right under the drain so it'll catch water and not hurt the cabinetry. That makes a lot of sense. So those are a few things to check.
Well, I love that I do that already. I just like the look of it when I open my cabinet. Not for the purpose, but now I know I'm doing something right. Yeah. Well, let's kind of talk about right now. This is the time everyone is going away.
Yep.
We are all leaving. We may be leaving for a long weekend. We may be leaving for an extended 2-week vacation, but it really doesn't matter how. What are some of the precautions? As we're getting our homes ready for us to know when to be there during that time, and obviously things can happen, and we could have come home to a nice little surprise.
Yeah. And I got to say, we've had customers that come home and their house is flooded and it's just a mess. And it's thousands of dollars of repair, and not for us, but just to put your home back together. So once again, if you can, perfect is to shut the water off to your house before you leave, especially for an extended period of time. Now, you can do that manually, and it's always a good idea to do it at the water heater and at your washing machine. Think about things that don't have drains.
Yes.
So, it's a good idea to shut those off. If you shut your water heater off and it's a gas water heater, you really need to turn the gas off to it. And there's a gas valve out front, right in front when you look at it, and there are directions right on the water heater. But you want to turn that in the off or pilot position. And then you can turn the gas off to the water heater if you're real handy. And then when you come back, turn it on back and get the pilot lit and that kind of thing. That'll keep you from coming home to a surprise.
It's a nice little, maybe you went to the beach and you come back to the water too. So no, I always feel like that's one of the horror stories. We were talking before, lady up the street, that's what happened to her. She was out, on vacation and came up to her house basically underwater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a fun time. So definitely turning off, so we'll turn off our water heaters, we'll get our anything, I would say, would you, anything with like ice makers, things like that? I mean, I know there's, or if just the ice makers, the water off to the house.
Yeah, shut the water off the house and you have no problems because it's not under pressure. You might have a little minor leaking, but wouldn't be a problem. Now, if you want to go that extra step, there are devices available for your home. And in fact, ever since the big freeze here in Texas, a lot of homes and insurance companies got involved in incentivizing homeowners to install what's called a whole home water shutoff. And so what it does is it monitors the flow of your home, of the water in your home. And if it detects that there's an excessive amount of water coming through, it'll shut the water off to the house. Okay. It's also Bluetooth. It connects to your phone. And you could be out of the country and you get a notification where, hey, look, you have a leak. We're going to shut this off unless you override it, or it'll shut the water off. And so insurance companies are giving credits toward the installation of that. Check with your insurance agent. And they're also giving you discounts off of your premiums on an annual basis if you have one. You can only imagine how much money they're saving by you having that kind of device.
Well, definitely. And I mean, especially with policies going up, I did a segment earlier about that, and premiums going up. I mean, this is a way that you can save a little bit on that premium. So I know we brought show and tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might think, gosh, this is a huge device. This is it right here. There are a number of manufacturers. This one happens to be made by Moen. Pretty simple. The water's coming in from the street to your home. We do need to get power to it. So during the installation, we put that in, and I've got it upside down. Shutoff's right up here. So you do it manually, or it's got a little motor, and if it detects, it turns it off automatically. So, so what it does is it starts to learn how you use water in your home. And so it starts to store that. So let's assume you have a flood or something starts to leak at 3 a.m, and you've never used water at 3 a.m. It's going to shut it off quicker. So,
gotcha.
So shut it off even when you're sleeping.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. That's
and like I said,
smart device.
Check with your insurance agent. There are approved devices. Moen I've seen on most lists. But there are a number of different devices. So this is just one.
Very cool.
Really popular.
Well, like I said, I've never seen that. And so now we've all learned something. So now viewers, you've got to get on and get this device, call your insurance agent, and make sure that, see what your policy, see about the discount, and then, call Brent to have him come install.
Absolutely.
He'll come and install it personally, right?
Absolutely. Not anymore.
So let's talk about, the one thing we kind of allude to it with pipes bursting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, I guess, what are really the precautions to do during, our freeze time? I mean, we are, people try to, but then it still happens.
Sure.
I mean, so is there anything, we should be doing, signs of, that we, maybe afterwards we feel like everything's okay, but is there things that we should be looking for signs of those leaks?
Yeah, we see it all the time where you have a freeze. Exterior plumbing, like a garden hose connection.
Right.
Most washing machines
Yes.
are on an exterior wall. So think of those that are maybe not as insulated, closer to the elements. So when you're in a freezing situation,
Okay.
you really want to protect those. And the way you do that is with heat. So, usually the pantry or the laundry room areas don't get a lot of heat at the point. Leave doors open.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. Make sure the heat gets in there.
Okay.
Make sure those pipes are insulated. Let's talk about the outside faucets for just a minute. So those are designed to not freeze, but when you shut that off, the water comes out, and so where the connection is, it's back in conditioned airspace. If you leave your hose connected to that faucet, then that water stays in there, and that's what freezes. Here's what happens. It's not necessarily on, so you now have a crack in that. So when you find out you have a problem is when you go out to just water your flowers, whatever, it's springtime, okay? You turn that on and you go on the other side of that wall and you have a flood in your house.
Right.
Okay, so first thing is make sure your hoses are disconnected.
Okay.
Okay, it's key. If you can cover those with something, just put a little insulation, that works as well. Okay. And so those are the real key areas. If you have a home that's a little drafty and that kind of thing, here again, open up the cabinets, let some more heat get in there.
Okay.
The other thing is that you can turn on the hot and cold, not just one side, to a little small stream.
Okay.
If you're really concerned about freezing.
Very good. Very good tips. I mean, I didn't even think about the washing machine and you making that point, because I'm always thinking about exterior faucets, but not that my washing machine connectors are exterior as well.
Right.
And
right.
so and dripping those. So let's talk about, and well, I just dealt with one of these, and y'all were amazing with getting it corrected. Slab leaks. And let's talk about some ways that people can kind of detect if maybe they may have a leak going on.
Yeah. So some of the real common things are that somebody might see something with the foundation of their home. If you notice that's close to a bathroom or a place where there's plumbing, there might be an issue there.
Right.
Still might want to start with what we call a pressure and hydrostatic test, because it may not just be the pressure line, it might be the drain line.
Right.
Okay. So look at your foundation. Obviously, you see some water coming up through the floor or through your wood floor. Those are the obvious signs. Other things that are a little subtle are heaving in the floor. You see a little curvature to a floor or something like that. That's time to get it checked.
Yeah.
And so that first step, like I mentioned, is a pressure and hydrostatic test. So all we do is test the drain lines by filling up the drain lines with water, and through gravity, watch if it loses or starts to go down the drain. If it does, then we get a camera out and start doing leak detection. But unfortunately, in this area where we have so many slab homes,
Right.
slab leaks are with us.
Yeah. They just appear. Yeah. But I was fortunate that mine was in over in a carpeted area in the house, so we just had to pull back the carpet and figure that out. So it was very nice.
One of the things I'd like to say to your homeowners, and your listening audience is, insurance companies are motivated to help you go learn your policy.
Right.
And when you renew your policy, make sure that you have slab coverage, because the insurance companies are becoming well aware of how much this is costing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The other thing is that your agent may say it's not covered. Technically, they're right. Technically, they may be wrong. Okay. because what they won't cover is the actual plumbing repair.
Yeah.
Here are the words to write down: ingress and egress on your policy. That's to get to the problem and put it back. Most people have replacement cost coverage.
Okay.
So in most policies or an HOB policy, and I'm not an insurance agent,
Right.
but we're around it all the time, they will pay to get to the problem and restore you back before you had the problem. But they're not always going to tell you that so forthcoming, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. So get to know your policy, talk to your agent about it, be very aware that you're not excluding that coverage
Okay.
at renewal. And I would ask about it because it is a big deal in this part of Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, I find, especially, in certain parts of our metroplex where the homes are, getting older, we're just seeing, and I think also maybe, I don't know if it has, if it contributes to, some of our weather that we haven't been experiencing,
Yep.
New weather conditions, and, that can, obviously, probably make an impact on that.
Yeah, we're doing slab leak repairs every week. Multiple. And there's really only two ways to get to it. You would jackhammer and go through the floor.
Yep.
Not a lot of fun. Or you tunnel underneath the home.
Yeah.
And some of these homes have cast iron pipes, which just deteriorate over time.
Right.
They're not PVC. So what we're finding is when we get into a leak, we'll retest and another section's leaking. And so a lot of times it results in either replacing the drain lines under the entire home. And if you just think by 4x4 tunnels, I don't go under homes anymore. Will not, but our folks do. And it's tough work.
It is. I mean, they were doing tunnel. They were doing. I had the jackhammer, and it was a party at my house. But we got it all done, and like I said, I thought it was amazing how the laser device you guys had, it just detects. I was like, and the guy was showing. It was like, beep, beep. I was like, how cool is that? I mean, it just detects it right there. So. And it's just, the way that they can, best way for them to get to it. But, and it does happen. And like I said, but if you do, my experience, it was fantastic, done. And then my carpet was back. And my carpet guy came, laid my carpet back next day.
That's great.
I was ready. I was back in business.
Yeah.
So, always, there's always something, I feel like, in our homes that, there, when it comes to, plumbing, clogs, drains, things like that, it just happens. And it's just really, like you're saying before, really doing, taking care of your stuff and checking on it and making sure and fix it before, if you see a sign, call you.
Yeah. We've done it for over 35 years, and I understand it's not like buying a new couch for your home.
No.
It's not any fun.
No, I know. And I think, here's what I think a lot of us do is that we think the worst. So we have this, maybe this slow drip, and we're like, maybe it'll just go away.
That's not a good plan. Kimberly, hope is never a good plan.
But then it backfires. But I think it's like going to the doctor. You're always anticipating it's going to be the worst. And you're like, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost me? But it may not. The whole thing is that by going to you first, it's probably going to save you a lot of money doing it early versus waiting.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, it has been such a pleasure. We will have information on this great device on my podcast, because I know a lot of down here at the bottom, a lot of y'all are probably like, oh, what's that device again? I want to go check with my insurance agent. I think that's a fantastic device that everyone should be checking and putting in their homes these days. Well, thank you. We've learned so much, and let's say happy plumbing.
Happy plumbing. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify, as well as Kimberly's YouTube channel. If you'd like to contact Kimberly directly, you can email her at kimberlywoodard@ebby.com or call 214-632-2092. We hope you enjoyed our guest this week. And remember, don't just love your home, love your community.